What's good? It's been a week. Hope everyone's that watches this is doing well. I'm about to do some work on some upholstery stuff. So I got these. I did 2 of these chairs already, but I got 2 more. And this is gonna be the last furniture project for the rest of this month. I got I'm gonna make some valances for my apartment. In probably a few weeks if I can get these bags done, but. We're gonna live stream doing this chair, and then I'm gonna start live streaming me doing these bags too. It'll be kind of boring, but I'll play some videos while I'm doing it, so it won't be I'll get copyrighted or whatever, but you guys can still watch and enjoy or whatever. But anyways, so I'm gonna get going on these. These are the strands for the welt cord. So first I'm gonna sew all the welt cord, which I got quite a bit to do, and then after I get the welt cord sewn, I'm gonna sew all of the panels for the like for the body, and then I'm gonna sew the cushions. So here we go. And I might not do it all tonight, but I'm gonna do a few hours of it tonight. Yeah, it's rocking. I'm not really sure if I want to be like this on the chat, or I guess I should probably show my face. I'm gonna be watching some. I'm gonna listen to this one thing though, this one YouTube video before I start watching Netflix or whatever I'm watching. First of all, gotta change out this thread. Got the pink thread on there. I should I finished those big pink chairs, the pink leather chairs. They turned out crazy. What's up, Eden? How's life going? Pink leather chairs turned out absolutely phenomenal. Super stoked about how those came out. Client was happy. Can't complain. Thomas, what's up, buddy? Thomas has a very wet mouth per usual. Covered in water. You have the wettest mouth in the whole wide world, Tom. Alright. Put some white thread on this bitch. Alright, iPad's rocking. It has not been accepting my thumbprint recently. I don't know why that is. Alright, let's see what this 0% tax plan they're trying to say is all about. Oh, man. Alright, what the fuck are they talking about?
It is 100% confirmed that we are seeing some of the biggest tax breaks and cuts of the last decade. That's right, Trump's new tax plan is now officially signed into law. And I gotta say, if you make any amount of money whatsoever, you need to hear exactly what's inside, because it could either end up saving you or costing you a ton of money, all depending on how fast you're able to act. That's why if you want to hear about all the new changes that are about to directly impact you, along with how you could receive no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, $1,000 for every child, car loan write-offs, and massive $40,000 state tax deductions, among a variety of other initiatives, here's everything that you need to know and more.
Oh, only $1,000 per child.
Save you thousands of dollars.
It was supposed to be like $5,000 per child.
Before we start, I don't usually do this, but as a quick disclaimer, when I was researching this video,
was it lies?
Was it lies? Incredibly biased. Like one side says it's a disgusting abomination that ends America's time as a great power. Well, the other side says it's the best thing ever and it'll spark economic growth. So if you appreciate just hearing a neutral stance with just the facts, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button or subscribe if you haven't done that already. It actually makes a huge difference and it helps me more than you could imagine. And as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of a blue tank. So thanks so much, and also big thank you to Helium Mobile for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so to start, let's just get right into it. For those unaware, back in 2017, Donald Trump passed what's called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which lowered taxes for practically everybody across the board. It reduced corporate income taxes from 35% down to 21%, and it gave some pretty substantial write-offs for nearly anyone who is self-employed. However, those were scheduled to expire at the end of this year if nothing was done.
I do appreciate the self-employment tax breaks. I do.
Tax plan that's going to take place through 2030 and beyond. So here's what's inside. First, let's start with one of the most popular items, and that would be no tax on tips. This one was a huge part of Trump's campaign promise, and believe it or not, he was actually able to push it through, although with a few slight variations. As much as people would love for this to be permanent, the no tax on tips clause is only applicable from 2025 through 2028, up to a maximum of $25,000. In terms of who qualifies, this applies to those who work in traditionally tipped industries, like in restaurants, hospitality, bartending, or taxi services, and you could still claim the benefit even if you receive a W-2 paycheck. On top of that, tips in this case will also include both cash and credit card transactions, which is good for anyone who is worried about that. However, the benefit of this will begin to phase out for higher earners, so if you make over $150,000 single or $300,000 married, you're not going to be eligible for the full benefit, and it's unclear about whether or not this is going to be available after 2028. Kind of like the next one, which is going to be no tax on overtime. Here's the deal. If you work overtime, as in more than 40 hours in a week, that overtime pay can now be deducted against your total income, thereby reducing your taxes by that exact same amount. Separate from that, it's also important to clarify that the tax-exempt status only refers to the overtime pay portion of the paycheck and not the entire amount. So if you normally make $20 an hour, but with overtime you make $30, then extra $2 would be considered the tax-free portion and not the entire amount. If that makes sense. Now, in terms of who's eligible, this does phase out if you make more than $150,000 single or $300,000 married, and there are limits to how much you're able to deduct. There's a cap at $12,500 to $25,000 respectively. Of course, it's important to point out that only 8% of hourly, 10% of salary workers receive or are eligible for overtime pay. So this only applies to a very small subset of workers. But if it does apply to you, great, more money for you. However, speaking of critics, this next one has been the most controversial over the last few years, and that would be the near $40,000 focus on. See, prior to the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, state and local taxes could be completely deducted from your federal income taxes. So as an example of this, if you lived in California and paid $30,000 in state income taxes, along with $20,000 in property taxes, that $50,000 could be completely deducted from what you owe the federal government. But beginning in 2018, all of that changed. Instead of being able to deduct the full $50,000, the new tax plan capped state and local tax deductions to just $10,000 total, regardless of if you were single or married, and not adjusted to inflation, leaving residents in states like California, New Jersey, and New York paying a lot more money than they did before. Except now,
Happy 4th. What's up, Puddle? How you doing, bro?
Starting in 2025 and running all the way through 2029, state and local tax deductions have been quadrupled to $40,000, increasing with inflation every year thereafter. However, as a way to prevent high-income earners from getting the majority of this benefit, this tax plan will begin to phase out these deductions once you begin earning about $500,000 a year, adjusted to inflation. Meaning if you make more than this amount, your deductions begin to shrink back down to its original $10,000 limit. Although here's a quick tip for anyone living in a high-income tax state who makes over $500,000 a year. And seriously, this is worth a like and subscribe, because if you didn't know about this already, it could easily save you tens of thousands of dollars, and it's what's called the salt cap workaround. Here's an overly simplistic view of exactly how it works. Instead of an S-corp owner paying themselves the full distribution and then being required to pay state taxes on a personal level, the S-corp will pay its portion of state taxes as a deduction, since that's not limited by the $10,000 or $40,000 salt cap. And then that credit will transfer to you on the individual level, essentially allowing you to use the full amount that you pay for state and local taxes as a tax write-off. Don't believe me? Well, so far, 30 states have already approved the strategy, and the IRS even issued their guidance on how to proceed with it. On top of that, instead it was considering language that would close this loophole, but they didn't do it. Beyond that, though, I'm going to be honest, these tips and tricks are really just the very beginning, because there are others that you absolutely have to be made aware of, especially since it'll have a direct impact on you starting today. Here's the thing, with all of these tax changes soon going into effect, it's more important than ever to find savings wherever we can. Like most of us have just gotten used to spending over $100 a month for phone service. But there's actually a way to pay way less without giving up good coverage, all thanks to our sponsor, Helium Mobile. They've got phone plans starting at $0 a month with no contracts and no credit card needed. It's literally just a free phone plan, which is perfect if you're a light user or just want a second SIM for additional coverage. All you need to do is share your anonymized location data, which Helium Mobile doesn't sell and only uses to improve coverage.
Your anonymized location data. You just gotta let them track you wherever you go, and then it's free. How about that? You like that? You like it? It's free. You like it?
There's also a spouse plan for only $5 a month, which comes with 3 gigabytes of data, unlimited talk and text, nationwide coverage.
Only $5 a month, and they still track you.
And how they use it. Helium Mobile is able to do all of this because they combine nationwide 5G coverage from T-Mobile.
Because they track you. Because they track you everywhere you go. That's why they can do it for free.
They actually reward you for using your phone. In this case,
yes, they reward you for tracking you.
Like referring your friends or sharing anonymized.
Yes, then refer your whole family so they can track you and all your loved ones.
Like Amazon,
Yay!
Sephora, and tons more.
All the people that they share your tracking data with.
If you want to try it out, even as just a free option, feel free to use the link down below in the description and use the code GRAM to get $10 in cloud points for gift cards. Again, the link is down below in the description to get started today. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video. Alright, so in terms of the brand new tax plan, there are 6 more major items that you have to be made aware of, with the first being lower tax rates. Essentially, the current tax brackets between 12 and 37% will remain as they have been since 2018 and will increase with inflation every year through 2029. This means no more 39.6% tax bracket, and after-tax income for nearly all Americans will be going a little bit higher. 2, we have the mortgage interest deduction. This allows the interest of the first $750,000
My dog is adorable.
in a primary residence to be written off of your income. So as an example of this, if you have a $750,000 mortgage and you pay 6% interest, that is $45,000 that you could potentially use to reduce your income. On top of
They're
that,
incentivizing owning a home. There you
you'll
go.
also be eligible for a deduction. 3,
So if you can afford a $750,000 house,
honestly, from this entire
then you can
plan,
write off
this
your,
is
you know,
biggest tax
the
write-off
interest
for
every year. So that's
private
good,
firms. And
I
if you
guess.
fall into the right
You can afford
industry,
it. Thomas,
it's
no.
a ton of money.
I am
But
doing
also
something and you
learned
just fucked me up,
2018,
Tom.
Trump made it possible for certain business owners to deduct 100% of qualifying expenses against their income in the first year it's placed into service, saving them a ton of money.
Hey.
And even though this was scheduled to phase
Hey.
out and expire, he just made it permanent. With this new tax structure,
That's good.
100% bonus depreciation is here again indefinitely, which means business used cars that weigh more than 6,000 pounds once again become a 100% tax write-off. Planes could be a 100% tax write-off, and certain real estate expenses.
I don't know about a
can be
plane. I don't know who can
bonus
fucking afford a
depreciated in
plane.
their first year against all income. So it's pretty incredible. But after that, we also have 4, an increased standard deduction. In this case, the standard deduction is raised
Only
to
the hyper wealthy can
$15,750
afford the
single
plan.
or $31,500 for married filing jointly, effective in 2025. So even if you don't qualify for anything else on this list, there you go. That is a reduction of your income right off the top. 5, there's also a qualified 20% small business deduction that's back. This allows eligible pass-through entities like an S corporation to take a 20% deduction right from their top
here we
line
go.
revenue. And now it's officially been
We got a new, we got the weld cord foot on. We got the
instant 20% deduction indefinitely.
weld cord.
6, we
We
now
have
have
a
the threshold for a 1099
golden doodle
report
running
from
around like a crazy man.
$600 in a year to $2,000 in a year. This one has probably been one of the simplest, quietest wins of the entire bill, because prior to this, if you paid someone more than $600 in a year, you would have to issue them a 1099, get their tax information, but now that's been increased to $2,000, saving a lot of people who pay for small jobs a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, that's nice. That is actually a super nice
are
situation.
existing that have either been increased
Hey,
or
Thomas, stop.
permanent. These next few ones are something that we've never seen before, like this, deducting interest on personal car loans. Here's just something to consider. As of right now, the average car payment in the United States is $742 a month at an average interest rate of
This white thread that I have is
with
so
an average
shitty.
loan size of $41,572. Typically, the interest
Not
you
shitty,
pay on
I guess
something
I
like
should say.
this
It's
is
just-
not tax deductible.
It always, it's good thread. It's just not. It just always causes an issue for me.
Starting this year and through 2028, you can now deduct the interest payments on personally used car loans up to $10,000 a year, on top of the standard deduction if the car is manufactured in the United States. In terms of who qualifies for this deduction is available for those who earn up to $100,000 a year single or $200,000 a year married, and then begins to phase out by $200 by every $1,000 you make above that amount. So if you earn over $150,000 to $300,000, single or married, you don't get this. Although speaking of cars, there is one aspect of this bill that's getting a lot of negative attention, and that would be the elimination of the $7,500 EV tax credit. For those unaware, over the last few years, electric vehicles will qualify for a $7,500 tax credit if you make under $150,000 single or $300,000 a year married.
That's pretty nice.
If you owed $7,500 or more in federal income taxes, they would give you all of that money back, dollar for dollar, just for buying an EV, which is crazy. However, all of that is now coming to an end, sooner than expected. Instead of initially expiring December 31st, 2025, it's now scheduled to expire September 30th, 2025. So if you're thinking about getting an EV and getting that $7,500 tax credit before it goes
You
away,
better fucking do it now, son. You better go get your EV right now. They're coming off a lot. They're coming off high. They're coming off a lot, very high. You better get them quick while the taxes are still here, son. Better get them quick.
This proved to be way too difficult to implement.
See, this white thread fucking sucks. I think it already got jammed again if it did. Nope. Did I push through?
Tax years 2025 to 2028.
No, it got jammed again.
Once you begin to earn
Why is it doing that right now?
$5,000 a year single or $150,000
Hate
a year
it.
married.
Gotta hate it.
Essentially, this can help shield some, if not all, of a person's qualifying income from Social Security taxes, especially since not all Social Security income is taxed to begin with. So
Little
yes, some
dickhead.
people get a huge benefit, while others get absolutely nothing from this if they make too much money. Although there is one more that we have to talk about, and that would be the brand new $1,000 Trump account. With this, eligible children born 2025 through 8 will receive a $1,000 credit funded by the U.S. government.
That's pretty cool.
An account that could then be invested. The goal here is that with compound interest, the $1,000 would grow to a significant amount in the future that could then be used towards qualifying expenses, like a first-time home purchase, higher education.
I don't put a lot of money in the stock market as well,
If you
but
don't use any of that money towards qualifying expenses, then eventually it's going to be cashed out and you'll pay taxes on it as though it's ordinary income. On top of that, parents would also be able to contribute up to $5,000 a year for kids under the age of 18, essentially giving their children a huge head start when you look out for the compound interest growth. However, if parents really just wanted to do this, they could already go and raise investment income for their children, who would then pay 0% taxes depending on their tax bracket. So to me, this one is a bit repetitive. But then again, $1,000 is $1,000. Although in terms of the impact that this tax plan is going to have for the next 10 years, keep in mind it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
not all sunshine and rainbows, folks.
Like $2.9 trillion.
Ooh.
Here's the thing. I always like to remain neutral in my videos, show the perspectives of both sides, so that way you can come to your own opinion. But when it really comes down to the cost, there's just no way around it. This is going to be added to the national debt. Now, proponents of this say that quicker spending will help boost the economy. A little more debt in the big picture isn't that big of a deal. But critics argue that a $2.9 trillion spending spree is ridiculous and only hurts future generations, especially when investments to also reduce federal tax revenue by $4.5 trillion during that same time. On top of that, some other people have reported that this tax plan is going to cost the bottom 20% of taxpayers $550 a year, while the top 20% get a boost of more than $6,000 a year. But when you really look at this one and notice that the top 50% of taxpayers pay 97% of all income taxes, it makes sense that the top earners would see the biggest benefits since they pay the vast majority of all income taxes the U.S. receives. Separate from that, there's also been a lot of criticism that this bill will reduce Medicaid benefits by mandating work requirements, which might result in people losing coverage. Supporters of this say that it simply encourages able-bodied adults to go to work while cracking down on abuse. But others argue it hurts low-income, vulnerable families who struggle with unstable employment. There was also a very unusual amendment that was included last minute that caps gambling losses at 90%. Meaning, if you gambled $10,000, lost all $10,000, and then won $10,000 back, you could only deduct 90% of your loss, effectively making it so that you have to pay taxes on $1,000 worth of a game that you didn't actually make. Or I guess put more simply, gamblers are now going to have to pay a 10% tax on their losses, which makes it a money grab, but what do I know? Overall, though, this is quite a divisive bill. Some people think there are too many cuts, too few cuts, too much spending, too little spending. There's no win. But if you appreciate the face value information just for what it is on the surface and how it impacts you, Like I said, it would mean the world to me if you hit the like button or subscribe if you haven't done that already. This video took me more than you can imagine to put together, so again, that's all I asked for. Thank you so much, and until next time.
It would have been nice if Doge was able to cut more, but I feel like they got in there, and then it was like all of a sudden they realized that the people that were getting the money had enough power to fucking cause issues and threaten their lives, and maybe that was it. Maybe they weren't gonna get the incentives. I don't know. Who knows what the deal was? Well, I guess there's a few benefits for somebody like myself, but I think for some people it's maybe not so good. But major changes, Roth IRAs, tax cuts. Let's listen to another one. I want to understand a little bit more.
Hi, my name is Henri Jick. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the big, beautiful bill. Now, this is one of the most important pieces of legislation of Mr. Trump's entire presidency, and it just passed both the House and the Senate. And today, July 4th, it's going to be signed by the president. And this new law will have major changes to things like taxes, healthcare, student loans, energy, retirement accounts like the Roth IRA, and the entire economy. Now, there's a lot of confusions about it. It's controversial, it's big, and it affects almost everyone. So in today's video, I'm going to break down the bill by explaining the big changes that affect almost everyone. And as I get closer to the end of the video, I'll sort of expand into the wider economy and how this will have a huge effect for us. First, there's no
I think I need to switch over to the other
on
foot.
tip income and overtime pay, at least up to a certain amount. Now you can pause the video and look at this yourself, but remember the Trump tax cuts from 2017? They were originally set to expire at the end of this year.
Yeah, I don't think this foot is doing well for how thick this fabric is.
From 2025 through 2028, this bill will add a few.
I think I do. You changed your pawn. You asked me that last time.
Could make a difference.
I think I gave you my chess thing. I think you added me on the chess app.
Or you put in extra hours, that's more money that you're going to get to keep. But the benefit phases out once you make more than $150K a year or $300,000 as a couple. Next up, if you're in the market to buy a new car, there's some major changes. There's going to be a new deduction for
let's use this one.
paid on car loans, but only for new cars that were assembled here in the U.S. Now, we all know no car is 100% made in the U.S., so the bill defines this as the final assembly, meaning the car can have parts sourced from all over the world. It can even be assembled in another country. But as long as the final assembly is here in the U.S., it will qualify for that deduction.
Final assembly.
The deduction is up to $10,000 per year.
It's pretty nice.
Sounds like a nice
Not
win,
gonna lie.
and it is. But according to analysts, the actual savings work out to less than $500 per year for most people. So it's definitely helpful, but it's not going to be life-changing. But
Not
now let's
life-changing.
talk about student loans.
Student loans.
The way this bill is trying to help
Come on.
students
Come on, baby.
is not by pardoning the debt.
Not pardoning it.
Instead, it's trying to help by controlling it.
Controlling
That's because the big beautiful
Okay,
bill puts
let's see it.
new caps on how much students can borrow.
Okay.
$100,000 for graduate students and $200,000 for medical and law students.
Okay.
Now, the official reason behind why these changes are in place is to control what lawmakers are calling unlimited and unsustainable borrowing.
Yeah.
Because right now, under something called the Graduate Plus Loan Program,
Yeah.
there's technically no cap on how much students can borrow to go to school as long as the school certifies the cost, which of course they love to do. The government will lend for it. And that's led to some pretty eye-popping student loan levels, and this is a way to control that spending.
Okay.
And I actually really like this idea. Now, if you have kids, here's another important change. The child tax credit is getting a small bump from $2,000 per child to $2,200.
Oh, there you
And
go.
starting in 2026, it'll adjust for inflation each year by about 2 to 3% or so. It's not as much as the House originally wanted, which
No.
was $2,500, but it's still an increase. But
It's
there's
not
also
as much as
one
they
catch.
said it would be.
Not every
But it is
family
better.
qualifies for the full amount. If you're a
Ooh.
low-income family, the credit doesn't just show up, you have to earn above a certain threshold to get it. And it's estimated that about 17 million kids won't see the full benefit because those families don't make enough. Now
What?
let's move on to healthcare.
Damn, that sucks.
This is one of the most
That's not so good.
controversial parts of the entire bill. The big beautiful bill
All
cuts
right,
about
let's see if this bigger wealth foot will
$800
help. I think it
for
should.
Medicaid over the next 10 years. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean the program is going away, but it does mean that the rules are going to get stricter.
Yep.
For example, if you have no children, you'll need to work at least 80 hours a month just to stay enrolled. And you'll also have to prove your income and residency twice a year instead of once. And if you miss that paperwork's deadline, even if by accident, you could lose coverage. Now, the reason why the government is doing this is because they want to lower government spending and encourage more people to come to work. But the Congressional Budget Office also estimates that up to 12 million Americans could lose access to health care because of these changes.
That's not so good.
So if you've got older parents, or if you're in between jobs, or you're working part-time, this could make things a little more complicated, so just be aware of that. Now, obviously, this bill has been getting a lot of attention, but depending on where you get your news, the stories are completely different. And that's why, while I was researching for this video,
I used Ground News.
Which is also the sponsor.
It's also the sponsor. I mean, how ironic. Like, wow, how nice.
From across the political spectrum, and just look at the
Hello, Layup. How's it going?
leading sources frame this bill as harmful to seniors, children, center focus on the $3.3 trillion price tag and how narrow the vote was, and right-leaning outlets called it a massive win for tax reform. All of this side by side, so you can the coverage, the bias, the framing, without falling into an echo chamber.
Echo chamber.
That helped me a lot when writing this breakdown. So if you're someone who wants to see all the angles and
All the
form your
angles.
own opinion,
I want to see
check
left,
them
right,
out
top,
at
center.
brown.news/Jick, or just hit the link in the description below to get 40% off the same Vantage plan I use myself. Let's talk about food prices, because the bill also changes something called SNAP, which is the food assistance program that used to be called food stamps. Now, if you've never used it, you might not think it matters, but SNAP helps feed over 40 million Americans, so any changes here will affect the economy in a big way. And under this new bill, the benefits will now adjust more slowly for inflation. Just like Medicaid, there's now going to be a work requirement. If you're an adult between 18 and 55 and you have no children, you'll need to work at least 80 hours a month to qualify. Now, critics argue that
I feel like the 80 hours a month is like low-key pretty reasonable.
But supporters say it's about encouraging people to find work and
I work
be
80
less
hours a week
reliant
sometimes.
on the system.
I'm not on Medicaid.
Now let's talk about
I'm also young though, and I can
if you've
afford
noticed your utility
kind
bill
of
going
afford
up,
insurance. Although it is still expensive. It's still
and this bill is gonna have
220
a lot
bucks
of
a month.
The bill shifts a lot of money away from the green energy
But
programs
I'm not.
and puts it into oil, gas, and nuclear power. Now, supporters
See,
say
I think
that
nuclear
in the
bag would
longer
be good.
term, this will lower our energy prices, boost U.S. production.
I don't know about.
and
I mean,
cut
oil and gas
back
is
on
necessary, I
government
guess, if
subsidies.
we want to keep up
But it
with
also
the.
means
It's like if we're going to keep up with the AI stuff and beat China. I understand why they want all the oil and gas bonuses, but oh my god, dude, this thread is fucking tragic. It is fucking tragic. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Just fucking sew. What's your issue, dude? What is your fucking issue? It wants to get tangled up like every fucking 2 minutes. I need to get more nice white thread. Because this stuff it's not a bad thread. It's just like, I got it off this dude who was retiring. And he had it sitting in his hot shop for like, forever, you know what I mean? So, I think it was probably sitting in his hot shop, like, whatever, for years. And, kind of got a little sticky. Got a little sticky on itself, you know? So it, does weird things. Anyways, yeah, I guess I get that. I guess I understand why they would want to have that oil and gas credit. I just don't know at the same time. It's like, I think solar is good. I think solar is for sure good. Wind power, I don't know. It doesn't seem near as productive. I know like up where I'm from originally, they have both, and it seems like the solar fields are effective. The wind power, I don't know. It's good. It's like some of my family would rent out their land up north. My dad actually did this, and they would sell their land, like sell a it's called a thing. It's called something. I forget what it's called. It's pretty much like you sign a contract to rent it for a certain amount of time. But it's like there's a name for that. It's not just like a lease. It's called something specific. Whatever. I'm blanking. It doesn't matter. But and it seemed to be, you know, whatever. They obviously paid decent money for that, so that's cool. But how much power did it get, and then how often did they have to repair it and stuff? It's like it didn't. I don't think the business model kept up very well. Dude, this is still way too tight. I mean, it's showing it, but it's like this is not ideal. See, I changed projects. I did this project, and then I did another project, and the other project. And I definitely need the stitching to be better than this. This is fine because it's just a well cord, but it needs to be better for. I'm gonna get the other one. I think this one's fucked. I'm gonna rewind this bobbin. I'm gonna use the other white thread. Anyways, so that's a little bit worrisome. Hopefully the oil people don't make too much money. I guess they already make enough. And it's fucking too much. What is too much? They already have everything.
Things like solar panels and energy efficient upgrades, which could make those things more expensive. The bill also gives the state the option to charge us extra fees on utility bills if our electricity use goes above a certain monthly limit. It's kind of a stealth tax for people who like to run the AC a lot. And as someone who lives in Las Vegas, that's not good for me. Now, this bill also has some major changes to the Roth IRA by 2026.
Oh, no.
And this is super important. Right now, you know that if you make too much money to contribute to a Roth IRA, there's a loophole. You can just contribute to a traditional IRA and then convert it to a Roth. A lot of people like to do this, and it's totally legal, but not for a lot longer. Because starting in 2026, this bill will get rid of the backdoor Roth IRA strategy completely. That means no more.
That's hurting the rich people, not the poor people, by the way.
If you've been doing that trick every year to build tax-free income in retirement with a backdoor or even a mega backdoor Roth IRA, you might want to start looking at other options right now. And there's two reasons why they're doing this. First, it raises tax revenue. And second, lawmakers say that this loophole mainly benefits wealthy people. It wasn't really what Roth IRAs were intended for in the first place. But the government hopes instead you're going to use a new retirement account to replace the Roth IRA. And that's something called the Trump Retirement and Savings Accounts, or TRSAs. These are basically a new kind of tax advantage savings account.
Trump, he had to put his name on it.
As some people like to call it. And it's designed to replace Roth IRAs over time.
Don't you just love that dude? He loves to put his name on shit.
There will be no income limit to contribute to this account.
Oh,
and
that's good,
the
I guess.
federal government will contribute $1,000 to an investment account for every American baby born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028. You'll also be able to contribute up to $5,000 in after-tax income per year to this account. And the catch is that the money can only be invested in the overall U.S. stock market, which is pretty awesome. They're trying to encourage people to invest in the U.S. economy, and a $1,000 investment, for example, at the time of your birth, at an average yearly return of 8%, would turn into about $4,000 by the time you turn 18. It'll turn into more than $10,000 by the age of 30 and over $148,000 by age 65. Now, you also probably heard that this bill will help the rich, and here's how it's going to do. If someone makes over $1 million a year, this bill will give them an average 3% boost in after-tax income, which works out to about $75,000 in savings per year, according to the Tax Policy Center. And there's a few ways that's going to happen. The self-deduction cap, which goes up, there's also some changes to itemized charitable deductions, with wealthier households seeing slightly reduced benefits, while middle-income earners can now claim up to $130,000 in charitable deductions without itemizing them. Now, there's a lot more to this bill that I left out. There's hundreds and hundreds of pages to this, but I think the bigger question is, how are we going to actually pay for this? This bill is extremely expensive.
Very expensive.
According to the Congressional Budget Office, the Big Beautiful Bill is projected to add over $3 trillion to the national deficit over the next 10 years. In fact, most of the bill is going to be paid for by borrowing more money.
Wow.
Now, if you're wondering,
That's good.
Isn't this going to cause inflation?
Hey, how's
The
it
answer
going?
is definitely asset inflation.
The latest developments in these bills are fundamentally inflationary.
We have a series of senators who have come on this program to talk about their concerns with the bill, including Ron Johnson and Rand Paul.
Because when the government runs bigger and bigger deficits, especially in a high interest rate environment like we're in right now,
Asset
it
inflation.
either has to raise
That means if you
taxes,
own
which
things,
we won't do,
you'll have more money. If you don't own
we
things,
just had
you'll be
the
more poor.
biggest opportunity
That's what that
of my
means.
lifetime to do, and we did it.
So if you own a house,
Let the system fail.
that's
of course
good.
we won't
If you
either,
don't own a house,
or borrow.
that's
more
not good.
money.
If you own a business,
Print our
that
way
could be
out of
good.
this.
If you
We
don't
know
own a
the answer
business, that
because
could
we've
be
been doing
bad.
it for as long as the Federal Reserve has been around. And more money printing means
Yikes.
nothing stops this train. The rich will get richer, and the people without assets will most likely be left behind. This also kind of sets up the president and his family to really benefit from owning hard assets, especially assets like Bitcoin, because hard assets will go up much more in the long term as a result of all of this. I did an entire video about this to show you in the future. There's obviously a lot more changes to this bill that I probably missed. These are just my initial reactions and impressions, and they're the ones that stood out the most to me. And if you've made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about all of this? In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Well, there you go, guys. Kevin O'Leary, 10x your income. Work less. All right, I don't know about that. Let's put it back to should we watch some Netflix? What should we watch? Let's listen to this new Chance the Rapper, Lil Wayne, and Smino. Very fun. Tree, 2025. Uh-oh, they hate me. A lot of energy in the song. Very energetic. Not very good for the white man, apparently. They do hate us.
My mama had to work, yeah. My stepdaddy had to work. Don't expect me to pass the perk, cause pass the perk ain't at this church. So God forgive me, God forgive me. I be smoking like the bitches, smoking like syringes, blowing around like I'm Jenny Craig. I'm cold as Winnipeg, when me and Chance smoking them plants. We turn to Bill and Ted, all my weed be strictly meds. My blunt be thick as lead, yellow Percocets, white Percocets look like missing eggs. Smoke a blunt for Chirac. Catch a contact, I don't know where my eyes at. They on a bad tag, I'm sorry I got sidetracked. But I'ma hit you with a sidebar. You can pull up in the flying car, I'ma pull off in the flying car. That's Captain Bitch, they recap. I cut them freaking recaps, and Chance give me a 3 cap. To cover up all these naps, a dreadlock rasta, bandana red like pasta. I feel a nigga bitch like a monster. My mama used to always keep a
Honestly, not a super. I mean, Lil Wayne's kind of did whatever for, he did it, so he got famous, whatever. That's probably the best verse I've heard. I mean, I'm not a super big man, but that's like the best verse I've heard in a while. Definitely a full production for a song, not just like a beat. Kind of interesting, the 808's almost like an old school like walking bass, like what you'd hear in like blues or something. Boom, da, boom, da, boom, da, boom, da, boom, da, boom, da, boom. All right, that was decent. We're gonna listen to a thing about what you're making. I am making cushions for a chair. Grant Cardone's ass. Yeah, Grant Cardone is a scam artist. Scam Cardone, that's what people should call him. All right, let's listen to this. Business basics. Apple's China crisis. Uh-oh, what's happening?
Apple was investing, by 2015, $55 billion a year into China.
rests on China. So they depend on China. That's where their bread is buttered. So how exactly so America's superpower it is today?
Apple has been captured by the CCP. About 90% of iPhones are being made in China. Apple knows that at any moment, Xi Jinping can literally kill the company. And Apple's not allowed to leave China and go somewhere else. But there's a twist to the story. Apple knew this all along. They're actually one of the biggest actors propping up the CCP. They've invested hundreds of billions into the regime, unlike any company has ever done before. $55 billion a year since 2015 to be exact. That's $500 billion total in just the last 10 years. More than 10 times President Biden's CHIPS Act or President Trump's Golden Dome initiative. It's a lot of money. You know what? Nothing says designed in California like $500 billion to Beijing. So, let's try to understand how Apple got into this situation. Because Because in 1999, absolutely none of Apple's products were being made in China, and Apple wasn't selling Apple's products. Years later, virtually all of Apple's products were manufactured in China, and China was one of Apple's biggest markets. Now, I do have a serious disclaimer about this whole video. This is a sensitive topic for the CCP, and that's why mainstream media doesn't really talk about it. Actually, not a lot of people talk about this. So, if you can please hit that like and subscribe button down below to help out the video.
Business basics, by the way.
Especially since YouTube tends to favor mainstream content and doesn't always push sensitive videos, particularly those critical of the CCP. Remember, even a single like can go a long way.
Although Business Basics channel does very good.
Okay, now let's get on with the
He's
video.
just kind of talking shit right
The
there.
shift can be explained by what happened in 1996. Apple was nearly going bankrupt with a staggering $740 million loss that year. That's about $1.5 billion in today's money. The company actually hired a Chapter 11 lawyer because they were days away from failing to meet their payments. That sounds crazy knowing how successful Apple would become later, but back in the day, Apple was losing to its competitors in the computer business. In fact, this was the time when Apple sold off the bite of the apple that's missing from their logo. Yeah, true story. The market was flooded with PCs running on Windows. And because they all had pretty standard components, a new business model called electronics contract manufacturing, or outsourcing, emerged. Basically, PC companies order other companies to make the components and do the assembly for them. The same third-party contractors could supply the whole PC industry, creating huge economies of scale. And later, those third-party contractors moved abroad where manufacturing wages were lower. But Apple was losing out because it didn't participate in outsourcing at first. Its designs were unique, and it was very difficult for other companies to make them. And Steve Jobs was a fan of making things in-house. So Apple manufactured most of its own products, including at the factory of Fremont in California. But Apple's prices got out of hand, and they knew that they had to change course. In 1980, it opened up its first foreign factory in Ireland. And in 1981, it built a factory in Singapore. That same year, Apple also placed orders with the American third-party contractor SCI Systems. However, Apple didn't fully commit. In 1991, the company opened a new Apple-owned factory in Colorado. This wasn't working, and after the near bankruptcy, the company shifted course. Steve Jobs said, think different, but maybe not that different. So, after some brief experimentation in Mexico, Apple moved to Asia, like most American companies. But China wasn't in the picture at the time, because it was still a poor, underdeveloped communist country. South Korea, on the other hand, was already booming. So in the 90s, Apple signed contracts with South Korea's LG to make displays. Taiwan also got business deals with Apple, with companies like Quanta Computer and Inventec assembling Apple products abroad. Later, the Taiwanese chipmaker TSMC would become the exclusive chip supplier for Apple.
Shit sucks.
But another Taiwanese company called Hon Precision Industry, or better known as Foxconn, would change the game completely. Foxconn was founded by a guy named Terry Gou, and he's a more important figure than most people realize. He would not only start one of the largest companies in the world, he would also build up the second largest economy in the world, China. Because in 1987, Taiwanese government funds allowing business to trade in mainland. This happened 38 years after the Chinese incorporated, separating the confidential mainland from the national law. At the same time, China opened up to the rest of the world with free market opportunities. There go, Terry, he eventually explained no one else did. In the southeastern provinces of China, he set up tons of Foxconn factories. He built a whole city within Shenzhen, where up to 500,000 workers are employed. And scattered throughout China, there are many more Foxconn factories. Aside from Deng Xiaoping, there's no one who did more to develop China than Uncle Terry. He didn't just build the company, he speed ran China's industrial revolution. And behind this rise of Foxconn is an even bigger company, namely Apple. In a matter of about 10 years, Apple would go from buying nothing from Foxconn to buying almost everything from the company. It all started in the year 2000, when Foxconn got its first contract to assemble iMac G3 models. This went incredibly well. So in 2003, when the iPod was selling like crazy, Foxconn also got a contract to make those. From 2005, Foxconn started working on the Mac Mini, and in 2006, they got contracts to make MacBooks. But the biggest deal of them all happened in 2007. Apple was about to launch the iPhone, and Foxconn decided to bet the house on this product. But then the house had 40 stories and no windows. The company started to build massive iPhone factories because it believed the iPhone would be a success. Foxconn was right. Over the following years, the iPhone would become Apple's biggest product by far, accounting for more than 50%. Nowadays, Apple is more of a smartphone company than a computer company. And Foxconn capitalized on this fully, getting a near monopoly on manufacturing phones for Apple. Now, it's fair to say that Terry Gou is an incredible businessman with a very well thought out strategy. But there's something fishy about this story. You see, the Chinese government called Foxconn a lot. And by a lot, I mean tax exemptions, loose regulations, cheap loans from state banks, free land,
Cheap loans.
even investing on the company's behalf.
Ooh.
And the most eyebrow-raising fact of all is that the CCP allowed Foxconn to exploit Chinese workers.
Yep.
Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of workers moved from the countryside to the cities in order to work in Foxconn's factories. And there were no human rights or labor laws at all.
Alright.
In the early days, workers were paid 50 cents an hour.
Damn.
And when the employees talked or laughed during work, they got huge penalties.
Ooh.
They had to work every day.
That's crazy.
Shifts were 12 hours or more. When they were finished with work, they had to sleep in makeshift camps next to the factories. There were 8 to 12 people per room, and conditions were very poor. When the stories came out of how iPhones were being made, this would come back to haunt Apple. But going back to the CCP, this was a very strange strategy. Why would they allow a Taiwanese company to exploit their workers to make products for an American company? And why would they give this Taiwanese company all the resources and support it pleased? While economic growth was definitely an incentive, that wasn't the only reason. The real motivating factor for the CCP was this. China tried to make a deal Apple just couldn't refuse. When Apple was fully dependent on China, the CCP would then use one of the most innovative and successful companies in the world to its own advantage. Long story short, Apple completely surrendered. Now, not a single one of their products can be traced back to China. And who can blame the company? The Foxconn Apple wish for a better manufacturing partner. Model outsourcing to China seems to be working for all parties involved. Well, except for the workers, of course. China's GDP grew a ton due to Apple. Foxconn's revenues shot up like crazy. And Apple became one of the biggest, most profitable companies in the world. And after 2010, China was not only a manufacturing base anymore. Chinese consumers became more prosperous, and Apple began to sell huge amounts of products in China. iPhones became a status symbol in the country, even more than it was in the US. So by 2015, Apple's China revenue hit nearly $60 billion, 25% of its total business. In terms of growth, China has been one of Apple's most important markets in recent years.
Wow.
The craziest statistic is that in the second quarter of 2023, China briefly surpassed the US in terms of iPhone sales. It's safe to say that Apple wouldn't be a $3 trillion company today if it weren't for China. But the cracks have started to show in Apple's China strategy. Word started getting out there that Apple was complicit in terrible human rights abuses in China. There has been widespread reporting that Foxconn employs underage workers in so-called internships. There were also multiple worker suicides at Foxconn in 2010. Ever since, Foxconn has installed nets around the factory to prevent people from jumping to their death. Nothing says we care like surrounding your building with trampoline-grade netting. On top of that, there are reports that Foxconn uses slave labor of Uyghurs in Xinjiang to make Apple products. This is all terrible PR for Apple. The
Not
company
good.
responded with apologies, audits, and responsibility reports, but the problem isn't fixed entirely. That's because Foxconn's whole business model depends on low wages, which means low welfare and low human rights for its employees. As we've already covered, the Chinese authorities actually support this, because they treat factory workers almost as second-class citizens. That's because
Second
the Chinese
class.
government allows Apple and Foxconn to exploit its workers so that China can exploit Apple. But the big shift happened when Xi Jinping got in power in
A lot of exploitation. So they exploit the workers so Apple can make money. And then they exploit Apple for money and power. Wow. What a unique story, you know? What a unique human story. Us exploiting one another greedily over and over again, not caring about the impoverished. You know, it'd be really cool if, like, the politics in America, like, if the left actually gave a fuck about the impoverished. You know what I mean? Like, if what they said was actually real and it wasn't just a bunch of shit to get votes. And it'd also be really cool if, you know, the Republicans did the same, but there's not as much money in that, I don't think. Not as much Kiznash, team. Not as much Kiznash. running low on the cash to help the folks. All right, dude. I want to use this white zipper chain, but I don't think I have enough for both cushions. Therefore, I can't use it. I have to do. And see, I'm trying to remember. I might have used the other white. I used the white or the tan. But the tan is a number 3 or 4 invisible zipper. So I guess I could use this one. Or, here they are. Here's the tan zippers. Although using the white zipper would probably be better if I'm going to use invisible zipper, because I have less of this, and if I need it for something that's actually cream colored, I should have it, you know what I'm saying? So let's just wait. Just hold off. We're going to use the white zipper. Okay, that didn't stay, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I need to order more regular zipper, because in all honesty, I should probably use that, but they ain't going to be taking these cushions off, so it's not going to really affect me. Let's see. Maybe I have enough. Nope. No, not enough. Not enough. Not enough. How's everybody's day going? Did I put that on there? I'm gonna do a little thing. Start a poll. What did you? How was your 4th? How was your day? I'll start a poll. That's good. All right. Just put this zipper chain in there. Put this away. Don't need that. Don't need that. I need 2 of these. Bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom, bada da 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 da. I got the goods. I'll come back bearing goods. All right, back to the CCP and Apple.
2013. Just a day after he was inaugurated, the Chinese media started attacking Apple. They did this on Consumer Day, one of the last reminders of Chinese socialism. Basically, one company's called out and exposed on the state-run CCTV network for not adhering to socialist values. Western companies were getting more and more criticism, and in 2013, it was Apple's turn. The Chinese state media said that Apple gave Chinese consumers worse warranties than the rest of the world. Now, this wasn't true. The real problem was that many iPhones were sold by fake resellers who pretended to be Apple stores. So Apple issued a correction, but that was a bad idea. Over the following days, Apple was attacked from all sides by CCP media and officials. So eventually, Apple's new CEO, Tim Cook, caved. He offered his sincere apologies and said that he had immense respect for China. He later introduced a warranty policy in China that was superior to what American consumers could get. But this wasn't about warranty policies. Obviously, it was a sign that Xi Jinping would start upping the pressure on Apple. Apple wasn't alone in this. Multinational corporations were being attacked on all sides. In 2014, at least 30 foreign companies were targeted by antitrust investigations in China. The American chipmaker Qualcomm was hit badly, and they were forced to pay a $1 billion fine to the CCP. They also had to start joint ventures in China, which is worse than it sounds. Basically, Qualcomm could only do business in China if 50% of their operations were owned by a Chinese counterpart. This Chinese company would then be allowed to steal all their intellectual property, leave the partnership, and then copy their business. Other Western companies like
That
Facebook
sounds like a really good deal, doesn't
were
it?
blacklisted back then in China, which was also not very promising for Apple. Tim Cook had to avoid this. That's where he got creative. Apple started the Gang of 8, which is an internal group at Apple solely dedicated to China and its relations with the CCP. It already sounds suspicious, but it gets even weirder. Because the group realized that Apple can only avoid trouble in China by helping the CCP achieve its goals, so that's what they did. The company started one of the largest transfers of manufacturing capability and engineering expertise in modern history.
Oh, fuck.
By 2015, Apple was investing $55 billion a year.
There it is. There's that 55 billion.
Now, to point out how insane that is, let's compare it to some other investment programs. There's not really an equivalent in the business world.
That's how enormous it is. So you have to look at governments. The CHIPS Act in the US, a supposedly once-in-a-generation investment into America, is $280 billion over 10 years. That's only $28 billion a year, not $55 billion a year. The Marshall Plan, basically what America did to rebuild 16 European countries after World War II, was $13 billion, or $130 billion in today's dollars, over 4 years. That's $32 billion a year. Still way less than what Apple spent in China. So the point is that Apple invested so much into China that it helped to build up the country into an economic superpower. The biggest factor is how many people Apple educated in China, which is where the majority of the investment has been spent on. In total, Apple has trained about 28 million Chinese people over the span of 25 years. Now, this figure also includes low-level factory workers, but a sizable portion are engineers. Apple has been sending some of America's best engineers to China to teach Chinese employees how to improve manufacturing. Now, Apple has way more engineers in China than in the US. In 2017, Tim Cook said that in the US, you could have a meeting of tooling engineers, and I'm not sure if we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields. With its massive investments, Apple has become the single largest educator.
I don't want to show the room like this.
The consequences of this are massive. This engineering knowledge didn't just stay with Apple employees. The Chinese Apple engineers went to Chinese universities and to Chinese companies where they taught and applied what they learned at Apple. And it's not just education. The other big factor is that Apple helps to build up and support a whole supply chain in China. Because it's not just Foxconn anymore. There's a whole list of components manufacturers in China. On Apple's 25-page supplier list, there are barely any suppliers that are not making components in China. The supply chain has increasingly gotten under the CCP's control, and it's part of what is called the red supply chain. But it's also the biggest reason why Apple can't leave, as we'll go into later. Now, this transfer of expertise and manufacturing capability did wonders for the Chinese economy. Without Apple's support, China certainly wouldn't be so close to America right now in terms of economic size. Because Apple made China into what it is today with its massive investments. But it's not even about GDP numbers. Alexander Hamilton, one of America's founding fathers, had very wise words to say about this. He said that not only the wealth, but the independence and security of a country appear to be materially connected with the prosperity of manufacturers. In other words, manufacturing has a dual use. It doesn't only create jobs, but it's necessary for the military. If you're good at manufacturing, you can also make missiles, tanks, and drones. Although an iPhone is very distinct from military technology, the machines and the knowledge used are not that far apart either. The machines used to make iPhone cases can also be used to make missiles. Mass robotic assembly lines can also be used during wartime. And the logistics of making hundreds of millions of high-end products every year are pretty similar to the logistics of making military goods. But most importantly, Apple has trained tens of thousands of engineers in China, and they can make advanced military hardware. That's exactly what Xi Jinping wanted all along. In 2015, he launched the Made in China 2025 initiative. With his strategic manufacturing goals, he wanted to become one of the most powerful actors in the world. 10 years later, we can say that Apple helped China a ton with this. As the communists often say, the capitalists will sell us the rope by which we will hang them. Over the following years, Apple would do more to please the CCP. In 2017, Apple removed all VPN apps from the App Store on Chinese devices. This helped the CCP to reinforce the Great Firewall of China. Without VPNs, Chinese internet users can't escape this firewall that keeps China shut off from the rest of the world. That same year, Apple removed the New York Times app from Chinese devices. It also began to store all data of Chinese Apple users in a Chinese data center owned by a state company.
Wow, that's good.
Apple's strong commitment to user privacy.
That's really good.
You know, the new Apple slogan,
All these things are.
"Thou shalt not pass."
All these things are really good. So far we have manufacturing capabilities out of this world comparatively. That's good. Lots of smart people able to take hold of any part of that manufacturing capability. Just adding on to the fire. So you have the people, you have the physical hardware slash facilities, and then last but not least, you have the motive. You have the very clear motive by their government to hang the capitalists. So that's always good. Oh, and then on top of that, they like to spy and exploit their people. So if they spy and exploit their people, imagine what they would do to us. How nice. How lovely. How
The
fucking,
Great Firewall.
how fucking
Later,
lovely.
podcast platforms were removed from China's App Store,
Oh.
as well as Quran and Bible reading apps.
That's good. No
During the
Quran, no Bible, no
protests,
religion.
The airdrop feature was limited to prevent information from spreading rapidly. More recently, Apple removed WhatsApp and Threads from the App Store in China.
Wow.
With all this evidence, it's pretty clear that
No
Apple
communication.
is selling out to the CCP. That's all very shocking coming from a U.S. company. But the story is getting even crazier now. The U.S. and China have been getting in hot waters recently over trade, with President Trump trying to get manufacturing back to the U.S. And because of tariffs, there are real incentives for Apple to come back. In this video, Trump is threatening to put a 25% tariff on iPhones. There's also a growing geopolitical risk for Apple. When the U.S. and China actually get into a conflict over something like Taiwan, Apple is done for. China could weaponize its control over Apple, removing its export license, leaving one of America's biggest companies to go bankrupt. Although this will be painful for China as well, the psychological and financial damage to the US will be well worth it for Beijing. Also, Apple is 100% reliant on TSMC in Taiwan for its chips, making the situation even more complicated. A war over Taiwan will end Apple one way or the other. To avoid these geopolitical risks, Apple wants to move to India and Vietnam for manual labor, taking advantage of cheap labor while diversifying away from China. By the end of 2026, Apple was most of iPhones sold in the US to be made in India. Last March, shipments of iPhones from India to the US reached a record 600 tons, worth $2 billion. Apple's contractors in India, namely Tata and Foxconn, are already rapidly expanding production in the country. Although this is good for PR and for avoiding tariffs, it doesn't actually help much. Assembly is only the final step in Apple's supply chain, and it's one of the easiest steps to move. So assembling in India and Vietnam doesn't solve Apple's China dependency at all.
Oops.
Meanwhile, the question is whether China will allow Apple to leave. Right now, Apple has about $47 billion worth of property, plants, and equipment, and most of it is located in China.
Oops.
Basically, it's owned by Apple, but used by Apple's third-party contractors. Especially the machines are a big deal, because they're designed by Apple itself to make the phones, laptops, and computers. But China isn't letting go of these machines. It's delaying or outright sabotaging shipments of Apple's machines out of the country. Apple owns the machines, but China owns the exit door. What makes the situation even more complicated is that Apple trained and educated millions of workers and thousands of engineers in China. They won't move to India or Vietnam, and it will be very hard and expensive to train new people in those countries. Also, when Apple leaves, there's a real risk that China will steal intellectual property. There have
They
already
will
been
steal
various
intellectual
stories
property.
of Chinese employees stealing trade secrets from Apple. Chinese competitors like Huawei have probably copied a few things here and there, and they've certainly benefited
Few
from the
things.
supply chain Apple has built up in China,
Just a few.
sourcing components from the same local suppliers. But if Apple is going to leave, China might as well go nuclear and just copy everything. Now, I would love to end the video on a positive note. Apple recently announced that it's going to invest $500 billion into the US over the next 4 years. But unfortunately, that's also a PR stunt. Because if you look closely at Apple's announcement, they're only going to create 20,000 jobs in the US. $55 million per employee doesn't seem like a good ratio. And with 20,000 new employees, Apple is obviously not moving its production from China to the US. There are big promises to build a new factory in Houston, Texas, to expand manufacturing in Arizona, and to start an American manufacturing academy. But most of the money is probably going to go to things like data centers and computing, if it's spent at all. If we look at Tim Cook's past promises, we can only be skeptical. In 2021, he promised to invest $43 billion over 5 years into the US to create 20,000 jobs. In 2018, he promised to invest $350 billion over 5 years, also to create 20,000 jobs, because
Wow.
we want to help America. Apple seems to make the same promise every time a new US president is concerned about China. And they're not very creative either, because they promise the same 20,000 jobs every single time. I mean, at this rate, the only thing Apple will be manufacturing in America is announcements. But if we put ourselves in Apple's shoes, is it even possible to move to the US? American manufacturing workers earn 10 to 30 times higher wages than those in China. And where are you even going to find hundreds of thousands of manufacturing employees in America? On top of that, it would take years to build the manufacturing infrastructure and supply chain in the United States. Educating all of the engineers in the US would also take a long time. Now, robotics are getting more and more advanced by the day, so maybe Apple won't need a lot of people anymore, allowing the company to move manufacturing back home again. But for now, it would make more sense to move manufacturing to countries like India and Vietnam, not just for assembly, but for the whole supply chain.
What Apple is not going to tell people is that this will take years, if not decades, and that Apple might be too late already. Because for now and for the foreseeable future, Apple has a massive China problem.
Uh-oh.
Now, this video was born out of Patrick McGee's new book, Apple in China, The Capture of the World's Greatest Company. If you guys are interested in more details about how China took over Apple, definitely grab a copy of the book. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and share this video with your House representative or your senator. Apple has a habit of making big promises to help American manufacturing without actually fulfilling any promises.
There we go. Fucking do what you say you're gonna do, Apple. What's the deal, bro? Why you hate us, man? Why you don't like America, man? Because of folks like me, man, do not like it. Why don't you like America, man? Because we cost too much to make your product. Yes, that is why. Well, there you go. There's some education, some details. There's some details about the current issue plaguing society, both in China and here. Cause see, it's like that's like it's not so good for China because it's gonna. I mean, I guess it's good for them because it's jobs for the people. Although I'm not sure how much the people like the job. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe they like it, maybe they don't. I don't know. Definitely not good for Apple in the United States. Honestly, with all that being said, and then the tariffs and everything, it's like, I almost could see Apple going bankrupt, and not being or like losing their grasp in America, not being a viable option for consumers. But I guess we will see. I feel like if the CCP didn't want to take over the world, it'd be better. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't want to take over the world. It seems like they do though. Maybe that's just all the things I've watched though. Or also like what they said. So I guess that's not how it's kind of like Israel, or Iraq. It's like, and Hamas. It's like we want to kill the Jews. Killing the Jews is the only option. You must kill the Jews. There's no other option that'll work for us. Must destroy them. They are the devil, the little devil, and the big devil, America. So it's like, well, that's not so good, I guess. I don't know how you're supposed to convince somebody that thinks that you're the devil. They're not. Especially after you bombed them for so long. It's like, we got the country bombed us for 40 years, on and off, pretty much, Probably think we're the devil too. Or they're the devil. Which I guess in some ways we do kind of think of, a fair amount of people would think of as Iraq and Afghanistan and Pakistan and stuff as a manifestation of evil on this earth. Crazy. It really would be great if we could all get along. You know what I mean? Like if we could all just get along and not want to blow each other up. There we go. 2-zipper. Very chipper. in there nice and good. I probably should have sewn this on the other way, but and not done the invisible side. So I sewed it with like the invisible side right there. And I probably should have sewn it with the non-invisible side up. It would have been much easier, and it's not like for a dress or for anything or pillow. You know, pillows, invisible for the pillows, very good. But it's not for that, so wasn't really necessary. Anyways, it's done now. It's on there, it's connected. Nice and tight stitches, very good. No singing while you work. And no singing while I work. Sometimes I sing while I work. I think the work is a little bit less productive when I do that though. Alright, so I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna sew the other things together, and then I think I'm gonna hop off and hop back on and start the live stream for some music. I wanna do a few more things first before I do that. Cool. Alright. So that's the boxing for the cushion. We sewed the welt cord for the cushion. I'm not going to sew the welt cord onto the panels tonight because I don't have the juice in me to do that. And I want it to be, I guess I could do it, but I just don't want to. It's going to take an hour and I don't really want to be up that late. Do you do out-of-state repair orders? Maybe. What you got? What you got for me? What you got? Let's see sides. Don't want those. I want these bottoms. Inside arm. Both these. Backs. My sweet puppy boy. He's just laying over there. Leather couch that needs new cushion covers. Color might be tough to match. Yeah, it probably would be if it's an older couch and it's been like used, obviously. It is normally pretty tough to match, but I definitely could make the covers if you send me the dimensions. Alright, so first step for this one, I need to measure up. I think I did 5 inches on the other one. It's a plum color. Where would I send pics and dimensions? You can go to my website, and there should be go to like the upholstery tab, like the yeah, go to the upholstery tab, and I think there should be like an email at the bottom. But yeah, just go there. There's an email on my website. Just send the pictures to my email. It's info@izzoday.com. That'll be the easiest way. Oh man, okay. So, I need to test this real quick, just make sure it's going to place the way I want it to. I mean, plenty fine, and then I think I did 4.5 inches. I can definitely do 4.5 inches. So I'm gonna do 4.5 inches up. I'm gonna measure on these bad boys. I'm gonna sew those and then measure that. That's my Thomas. So, all right, let's see. That's 5.5. We're gonna do 4.5, which is right there. Bada bing. And then we have a center already. We'll mark that. And the reason I am marking these to sew it back 4.5 inches is, so this is the decking, this is what they call the decking. And I want the fabric part to end 4.5 inches back from the front of the chair, right? The front of the chair, right there. So, because this fabric will be taken all the way to the front of the chair, stapled, and then there'll be foam, the little foam right here, this little white guy, stapled on top of that, and then the front piece of foam wrapped over top of that. Then there'll be like a little gap space in between the front and where the fabric starts, and I'm gonna put some poof fiber fill in there to make it poofy and kind of pop up a little bit. And then this will go from there all the way to the back, and that's what your cushion sits on. So, anywho, there's the reasoning behind that. And then we'll just do a little hickey right there for the center. I'm gonna grab this old Johnny. And sewing right side to right side. And I'm gonna sew on top of this white line. There we are. Alright. Got that on there. But I want to make sure that I'm sewing on the other side of the white. So I want to make sure that the stitch is nice. So let me make sure about that real quick. Yeah, the stitch is nice. Probably can tighten it up a little bit. Probably should tighten it up on the bottom though. It's alright. Alright. Watched Independence Day for the first time ever. Good movie. Had that classic like 90s feel. Kind of like Top Gun and stuff. I do wish that. Alright. big old pokey needle. Pull that. There you are. That. What's up, Mama? How's it going? I'm debating on the first Point Break. I don't see your remark. I heard it was decent. I can't redo Swayze and Reeves. The first Point Break, I didn't see your remark. No clue what you're actually referring to be honest. Can't reduce Swayze and Reeves. Oh, are you talking about the movie? Yeah. No, it was. I'm like horrible with names, even though I like literally just watched it. It was good. Is Point Break the second one? Is that like the second Independence Day? I didn't see what the name of that one was called. Okay. My staple gun is rocking and rolling, so. And it's out of staples, so it's actually not rocking or rolling. Okay, now I'm gonna add a little bit of polyfill in there. Maybe it's called Point Break. Yeah, okay. I have no clue. I guess I should. I'll point it out. But actually, this is not as easy as I was. There we go. Put a nice little pile of fluff right there. Now I'm gonna pull this over and stuff it right there. All right. So I gotta do some cuts, 2 cuts real quick, or slow cuts, but it's not too hard of a cut. So a lot of upholstery is knowing where to cut, how far to cut, stuff like that. So I need to cut right about here, and I need to cut about 1.5 inches or so. So I'm gonna try that out. That's not enough. I'm gonna try that one out. Get up under that arm. All right. Fine. Alright, now push that puff back into place. And like I said, it's just in there to be a little bit of a cushion right there. Kind of give it some lift. I'm gonna move that chair over that lip so I can staple properly. And I'm just gonna start pretty much all upholstery, you're gonna start in the center and work your way out. So if you're doing like a square thing, you go side, side, center, center, and then you work your way to the corners. Pretty much the same principle. If this was a striped pattern, you'd have to line up your stripe to a measured center. It's not. The only thing I've got to watch out for is that I get under this foam over here, but I actually need to trim this. Top corner a little bit. Take a little bit off of that. I need to go swap out my scissors. I'm gonna use my other scissors. These are not really for this. These are though. So do a little cut like that. Get some of that extra. I can even take some more off right there. That'll go up under that arm right there. And then this side, that's fine where it is. And back to the center, so. There. And then I want to wrap it all the way up under and staple it back about 1.5 inches, I guess. Just work my way over. So for this, I want to get the top and then the front to be the same. So get my excess out from the top, and then bring it down. Boom, and then right. And I'm gonna staple every few inches, and then I'm gonna come back and I'll fix the in between. I went too far back. Very nice. And then tack it in this corner, and I'm gonna pull it, give it a little bit of a pull, as much as I can, you know. Cool. Nice and tight. All right, on to the other side. Same deal. Goodness. The wood on the edges is much closer. There we are. Cool. I got both of those sewn, but the other one's covered, so I'm going to move on to sewing the next thing. Set this to the side for right now. So these are the inside arms. And I honestly, you know what? I don't have much juice in me right now. I don't want to fucking rush this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the other chair up there and do the base. And then I'm going to quit for tonight because I don't want to like sew something in a tired state and not do it properly. So I'm gonna pop this bad boy down. I do know something else I can do tonight though that will get me pushed forward. So that's actually, I'm gonna staple this and then I'm gonna do the bases. Because neither of those things take a lot of brain effort and precision. And sewing, the next stuff does take some like brain effort and precision that I just don't really wanna apply right now. The goal is just to get a few hours of working tonight, and that I will do. I was gonna get all the cushions sewn, but that thread was giving me a headache on the welt cord, and I am not about to like redo work. So I'm not gonna like sew the welt cord on there and then it'd be like fucky and then I have to redo it all tomorrow anyways. It's just not worth it. Okay. Alright. It's the center. Boom. Boom. Sounds like my brother just got home. So as you notice, I did the front, I did the back, Then I did the sides. You could also go if I needed it to be more precise, I could have went center, center, side, side, center, and then whatever. But I've been doing it long enough. Slash, this isn't near as like super. There's nothing precise about this per part, so that will suit the suit the cause. Is that the way to say that? All right, so I'm gonna do a little bit of this. Do a little bit of the fluffy puffy. Actually, give me 1 second. I'm gonna do white backer foam for the front edge. That just gives it some shape. A little reinforcement. Ship in the reinforcement. There we are. So I'm just cutting away the fabric. I don't know if I really explained, but I'm cutting away the fabric so it can go around the wood framing. And that's a lot of upholstery, is pretty much just cutting the fabric away so it can go around the frame. So, see, that still wasn't quite enough, but I'm gonna lift up this foam edge. It's right there. And then this. And it is still bunching quite a bit, so I'm just gonna get some more off of that. That's good. That's good right there. And then, so see how now it's like, it's just hidden behind the foam real well. Then the arm panel will come and cover it and do the same thing. Arm panel will come over it, and the arm panel on this one actually is cool. It like, the welt cord will come and follow this piece right here, and there's like a little piece that goes behind it, and then you pull that whole thing tight, and it just kind of sucks over that. You don't fasten it right there, so you can stick your hand in there if you wanted, I guess. All right. Definitely need to go get my scissors sharpened because they are running out of juice. That's pretty good. Push this poly back up in there. The poly poof. So I don't know if I mentioned it a minute ago. So I originally said I was gonna staple it 1.5 inches back, but the issue is once you get away from literally the center, there is only wood for the first inch of it. So that's where you gotta staple it. Ran out of staples. Ooh. All right, cool. There we are. All right. There's that. I forgot to staple the inside, the sides down after I did the front. Cool. I'm gonna stack those chairs again for a minute and appreciate it. Thank you. So I need to cut 2 pieces of fabric that are going to be, I think, like 70 inches long by like 8 inches wide, 6.5 inches wide. And that's one. That's the box. Whoa. I'm gonna just throw all this away. That's the old fabric. Put the wet cord away. You don't need that. Having chapped lips is getting old for sure. Alright, so try to go on that side of the table and grab the fabric, but it was not over there. It is over here. Alright, so let me measure this again. So this is like for the bases, and that is a these. These are a old school swivel base. These are like old chairs. These things are like 20-some years old. But they like them. They're honestly pretty well built chairs. And I think some people just like that, like they have their things, they like their things. Hey. And instead of buying new things, they wanted to make their older things nice, which I understand a lot of times, but these were like pretty unspecial chairs, so I was a little bit confused, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so 69.5 So I'm gonna make them 70.5 inches long. And then I'm going to sew them with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, which will make them 69.5. And I want them to be tight, so I'll probably sew it on the closer side of that. And then I'm gonna make them just 6.5 inches wide, because that'll give me plenty of room on both sides to pull it, staple it, make it look good. And since no one's gonna see the top or the bottom of this, I can use the fringe of the fabric to do so. Sorry, my bad. All right, that's 24. That's 48. And then 48, I need 70. So that means I need 12.5 inches. Alright. So I'll mark this down there. And then do the same thing. Alright. And that's the wrong fucking line. Fuck. That's only 60 inches. How did I get that wrong? 48 plus 12. It should have been 22. Oops. Oopsies. Well, that's not gonna work. New plan. 70.5. Okay, so I can't get blue out of that, so I'm gonna take the loss. I'm gonna go see. Honestly, white it's like marking fabric can. I wish there was like a great utensil for marking fabrics, but they're just like everything that you use could bite you in the dick. It really could. It really can bite you. It's none of it is guaranteed success. All right, so I gotta make 2 more because I messed up. Go bone, but I am gonna go off the same bottom line, so I gotta make a bottom line. Boom. 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 If I wouldn't have made the top vertical line and I just would have double measured, I wouldn't be having any issues right now. But because I did not do that, now I am having to use extra fabric, which I did not want to. Alright. Now let me just fucking use my measuring tape like a good boy. Just do it properly. Alright, 70.5 is right here. Boom, boom. That's where I'm going. Pull my fabric down some. And this is not cheap fabric for me to be wasting. Goes as he goes sometimes. Alright. There we go. Cool. So now since that is marked, I was using yellow, but yellow got on there too, so it's like blue is more apparent, so I could like kind of be a little bit more scarce with it. I did get a new cool cutter, so technically I don't need to use scissors. I'm using my new cutter tool. But since this isn't much cutting, I'm just gonna use my scissors. I mainly got my cutter tool for the bags that I'm making. Just like a lot of cutting, hours of cutting. And with that, it will save a lot of time. I'm honestly not even sure why I hadn't bought a cutter up to this point for those bags. It would have been a smart move. I do wish that it was like battery powered though, because that little cutter tool, I knocked it off the table twice yesterday by accident. Pain in my ass, man. Foot barely catches the edge of it, of the wire, and it's such a light tool that it just flies right off. It's also not a very popular tool, I'd assume, so therefore it's not battery powered. Or it's meant to be used industrially, because I think they do sell a battery powered one, but it's not it's not as strong, it's not as big. Which I don't think I really needed the one that I got. I think it's a little too big for that specific task I needed it for. I think I could have gotten the battery powered one and it would have been fine. Yeah. Got my two panel pieces, my solos. everybody. Still alive. Rocking and rolling, me dog. Rocking and rolling. I need to find my water. I will be right back. Alright, let's listen to something while we do this. Pacific Rim. Was a pretty cool movie. Alright. Let's watch Seinfeld.
It always has to be different. She's in there, I can hear it. Alright, who's gonna tell them? It was your fault. This whole thing never would have happened.
You're alive! Did you have fun?
Yeah, for a little while.
Where's Tony?
Oh. Kramer was supposed to tie a knot. Whoa, whoa, Ginga, you were supposed to tie the knot.
What? Did something happen?
Well, Tony took a bit of a tumble.
His face. Did something happen to his face?
Well, it all depends on what you mean by nothing. He's alive, yeah.
What happened to his face? Tell me, what happened to his face?
Well, you see, he slipped and landed on a kind of a rock. Yeah. The ambulance got there very quick. It's a big rock. We were up with him all the way to the hospital. Yeah, I sang 99 bottles of beer. Well, aside from that, how do you like the sandwiches?
I did not pull that one far enough.
So, what did the doctor say?
They said I'm coming along.
Yeah. But what else did they say?
Well, let's see. They said, Tony, try to keep it clean.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, did they get into stuff like, long, jagged scars or bruised deformities, major skin grafts, stuff like that?
I really don't remember. I was kind of out for the first couple of days. I was on a lot of medication. You know, it was kind of like AIDS. It's pretty cool.
But, you know, in this medicated haze, in this sort of woozy state, do we call the words radical reconstructive surgery?
I don't know.
Think, Tony, think.
I'm drawing a blank, babe.
Excuse me. This isn't a very good time, George.
I just wanted to talk to Tony for a minute. Step off, George. I don't want to see you. Me? Step off?
Yeah. Tony says you better step off, George.
Woman, it wasn't my fault. You asked me for a sandwich. I make such delicious sandwiches. Just beat it, dude. Here, Tony, please. Next time it'll just be the two of us. Jay, this is my neighbor Kramer. Oh, hey.
Hello, Kramer.
Hello, Jay.
Jerry told me so much about you. I feel like I know you intimately.
Oh, I don't think so. No, we never met. I never talked to you before on the phone. All right, I'll see you later. Wait, where are we going? Uptown, to the Y.
Oh, I'm going uptown too. You want to split a cab?
What about the driver?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I changed my mind. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go now.
All right, well, see you later. Nice to
Okay.
meet you.
See ya. That's her. Who? Erica. She's Erica. Oh, you think she's Erica, the phone sex woman? Jerry, that voice is tattooed on my brain. It's her. I'm telling you, it's her. Ah, you're crazy. Or am I so sane that you just blew your mind? Impossible. Is it? Or is it so possible that your head is spinning like a top? It can't be. Or is your entire world just crashing down all around you?
He's supposed to get the bandages off on Sunday.
What?
You know.
Afraid he might look like Jimmy the Pinhead.
Yeah, I mean, what is my obligation here? We were just dating. It was probably going to be over in a couple of weeks anyway.
Oh, I thought you didn't care about his looks.
I lied. Are you kidding? He's a mimbo, I know that. But he's my mimbo, you know? And even if he is a hideous freak, maybe I can learn to love him. And maybe in some little irony, what love really is. You know, Jerry?
Sorry, I didn't get most of that. Is that Kramer over there? Yeah. Hey, Kramer. Hey. It's all set. What's all set? Erica's gonna meet me here. Now we're gonna find out the truth. How'd you get her to meet you here? A certain chemistry. Oh my God.
Hi! Can I find you here?
Hello, Erica.
Eric, what are you talking about?
How could you say things like that over the phone?
What things? What are you talking about?
Selling sexual pleasure on the phone?
I sell paper goods, you jerk.
Paper goods?
Excuse me, do you have a tissue? No, I'm sorry, I can't spare it. There's just not enough to spare. Where's the ladies' room? I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, damn. Something wrong? Yeah, there's no toilet paper. I usually check. What would you say? I don't have it. I don't have a square to spare. I can't spare a square. Wait a minute. I know you. Hurry, honey. I know you. Here, take it. You either.
Now, of course, biggest extreme sports, bungee jumping. To me, the bungee jumping is a sport. So is being a crash test dummy. Just winning does not make it a sport. It's like a Wile E. Coyote idea, isn't it? The thing I wonder about the skydiving is why not bother with the helmets? Can you almost make it? Why not just wear a party hat?
That is a good point.
us for dinner. We have to bring something.
What?
Because it's rude, I suppose?
You mean just going there because I'm invited? That's rude?
Yes.
So you're telling me instead of them being happy to see me, they're gonna be upset because I didn't bring anything? You see what I'm saying?
The fabric of society is very complex, George.
I don't even drink wine. I drink Pepsi.
You can't bring Pepsi.
Why not?
Because we're adults?
You're telling me that wine is better than Pepsi? No way, wine is better than Pepsi.
I tell you, George, I don't think we want to walk in there and put a big plastic jug of Pepsi in the middle of the table.
I just don't like the idea that anytime there's a dinner invitation, there's this annoying little chore that goes along with it.
You know, you're getting to be an annoying little chore yourself. All right, let's go. Who's driving? You are. I can't get that thing in my car. What's the heat in this car? Come on, man, warm me up. Oh, it's a little squeeze. Go up there, huh, Bubble Boy?
Oh, yeah. You wish you had this gum.
You know, I was just thinking the four of us can't show up with just one bottle of wine.
There we go.
What?
Why don't we get them a couch? What do you all? Bring them a nice section.
Let's bring some cake. We used to go to the bakery.
Why don't you just get some ring dings from the liquor store?
Ring dings?
Hey, ring dings are better than anything you're going to get at a bakery.
I like ring dings.
George, you can't show up at someone's house with ring dings and Pepsi.
Very nice. Oh. Actually,
Two races of flavor living side by side. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
I can't put this all the way on, but I can put it kind of on.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a very smooth transition for you.
All right, look at all this stuff. What do we get?
Chocolate vodka. That's our specialty.
Love that vodka. But listen, Mine, when we get up to the door, you hold the cake box.
Why?
I don't know, just standing there with a box, holding it by the little string.
Do you think it's effeminate?
It's a tad dainty.
Oh, we forgot to pick a number.
Oh, see, that's not fair. We were here and had all these people.
You think I should go and ask her for hers?
No, forget it.
No, it's not fair. Just because they have a ticket doesn't mean they were here first. We were here. And we were ahead of them and her. Come on, let's just go ask him. Come on.
Well, I'm not finding a spot here.
all right.
What do you want to do?
Just not
No.
Why not?
I'll get a ticket.
Cheers. Step one.
Besides,
Done.
what if somebody wants to get out of here?
Are you kidding? People get spaces this good, they never give them up.
That's a fallacy.
All right, I'll tell you what. Why don't you go into the store and I'll wait in the car?
Why don't you go into the store and I'll wait in the car?
Because I got the coat. I can sit in the car and not get calls.
Well, I'm gonna leave the car running and the heater be out.
Does the heater even work in this car?
No.
Hey, there's a spot right in front of the liquor store. You see?
I see.
You see?
We were here ahead of you.
How do I know that? Well, we saw you come in. Well, that's easy for you to say.
Oh, yeah, right. That's something I do all the time, right? I make stories to get ahead
you still don't believe it.
27. That's us. Oh, okay, fine. Fine, go ahead. But listen, let me tell you something. As soon as I get there, I'm going to tell everyone what a jerk you are. Well, I'll be there ahead of you, and I'll be telling them what a jerk you are. I'll have the chocolate vodka. You're lucky, Mrs. Benedict. It's our last one.
All right, what do we do? It's hot in here. What do you say we get a vodka day? What's that? Oh, it's a bottle. Robust, very dry, as opposed to a Beaujolais, which is rich, fruitier. Here's one. $12. $12? I knew we should go to the bakery. I guarantee you they're not getting no $1 cake. Oh, I'm gonna have to pay you back later. I don't have my wallet. Why not? I don't like to carry my wallet. My osteopath says it's bad for my spine. It was my hip that killed it. Gross, yeah, hips have killed it. So where's your money? I never take it. So what do you do? Oh, I get by.
See you later. See you later.
That's the last babka. They got the last babka.
I know. They're going in first with the last vodka.
That was our babka.
You can't beat a vodka.
We had that babka.
Damn, they lost the babka.
Well, what are we gonna do now? We can't get the babka. The whole thing's useless.
How about a carrot cake?
Carrot cake? Now, why is that a cake? You don't make carrots into a cake. I'm sorry.
Should go tell the women in my area that.
Black Forest?
Black forest, too scary. You're in the forest. Hey, remember Napoleon?
Napoleon? Who's he to have a cake? He was a ruthless warmonger. Might as well get a Mengele.
That's our babka. We had that babka.
What's this one?
That?
Cinnamon vodka.
Another babka?
There's chocolate and there's cinnamon.
Oh, we gotta get the cinnamon.
No, but they get the chocolate. We'll be going in with lesser vodka.
I beg your pardon? Cinnamon takes a backseat to no babka. People love cinnamon. It should be on tables in restaurants along with salt and pepper. Anytime someone says, oh, this is so good, what's in this? The answer invariably comes back, cinnamon, cinnamon, again and again. Less vodka? I think not.
49? I'll have a cinnamon vodka.
And a black and white cookie for me. Peace. That'll be 1305. Hey, you. Hard. I can't change that. You can't? All right, let's go. Wait a second. I can get change. Hey, anybody got change for 100? Look at this bill. What? We got $100 bill. People be jumping over windows. Let's go buy something and we'll get some change. I am not buying something just to get change. George, there's a newsstand right over there. Come on. Just back it down here. What is on? I can change on. Why not? You gotta buy more than that. Newspaper. Not enough. Clark, keep going. $2. Hey, George. I'm not carrying I don't make great dinner conversation. We'll read the letters at the dinner table. It's real. They're all made. Oh, it's real. You know that there's an unusual number of people in this country having sex with amputees. Penthouse Forum. Newspaper gun. Clockwork. 675. Great. All right, with the wine, I'm in over $20. wine.
You sold us a cake with that hair.
You have to take a number.
I waited 15 minutes for this. You sold me a cake with that hair on it? And then you want me to wait? What are you doing? You gonna wait now?
Oh, I'm not gonna eat a cake with a hair on it.
Well, it was a little hair. It came off.
A little hair? Do you think that makes it better?
What if it's my hair?
What if it's your hair?
What is wrong with my hair? Nobody takes better care of their hair than me. You can serve dinner on my head.
You use that misty herbal rainwater crap they sell in the schools. I like brown hard stuff. Take the fruits out.
Okay, fine. We'll just wait till she calls the number. No, I'm bringing cake.
All right, we got the wine. Aren't we lucky? We got wine. Whoop-de-whoop. Imagine if we didn't bring the wine. We'd be shunned by society. Guests. Where's your wine?
I know it's gonna sound like a crazy fantasy, but every word of the story is true. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend happened to mention to me how attractive she thought our new neighbor Linda was.
Look at this. Somebody double parked and blocked this in. Does anybody know whose car that is? There's a note on it. No, no. I can't believe this.
Well, of course, I noticed it too, with those ample breasts and pouty lips. I don't have to tell you she was a knockout.
I really can't comprehend how stupid people can be sometimes. Can you comprehend it?
Oh, no, I can't comprehend.
I mean, we can put a man on the moon, but we're still basically vacuum. You know whose car this is? Maybe one of the guys that built the rocket. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, he could build a rocket, but he's still stupid for double parking and blocking somebody else.
So you really understand my point about building the rocket and double parking?
On the one hand, he's smart with rockets, and on the other hand, he's dumb with parking.
Hold on. Maybe it's not even stupidity. Maybe it's just a blatant disregard for basic human decency. If this is how dictators start, then Mussolini was stuck on the block 6 times looking for a stop.
How about easing him in, huh?
I think if I was running for office, I would have a death penalty for double parking. If this is allowed to go on, this is not a society. This is anarchy.
Are those shoes comfortable?
No, not really.
They look comfortable.
Sold us a hair with a cake around it. Find another one.
Oh, that's lovely. That's what you want to see, yeah. Yeah, you want to trade your hair for some fun. Yeah, that's a good deal. Hair and fun.
Here you are. Okay. All right, we got the cake now. Where is George and Kramer?
Double parker! Shut it down! Come on out, I'm freezing!
You're really late now. Where's Big Trouble? Big Trouble.
I get my hands on that George. I'm gonna pull that big hood over his little head, tie the string, and suffocate. You remember that Panama hat? That was nothing.
What?
What's the matter with you?
I don't feel so good.
What's wrong?
Stomach. I think it's that cookie.
The black and white?
Yeah.
Not getting along?
I think I got David Duke and Farrakhan down there.
Well, we can't look to the cookie break, Rita.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw up.
Wait, what about your vomit streak?
I know, I haven't thrown up since June 29th, 1980. Sorry.
Took my toe off. What should you do, you lunatic? Mary, I think you broke my toe. Where are you going?
14 years down the drain.
Chickens have individual personalities. They're not like farm chickens. Could you tell them apart just by the way they act? Or they all just be walking around? Because if they have individual personalities, I'm not sure we should eat them. What's the matter with you?
Can I help you guys with anything?
Hold on. We bought the wine here before, but now you're locked in by some car double parked and just waiting for the guy to pull out.
Well, wait outside. This isn't a hangout.
You lunatic.
My friend here
I got you, yeah.
Take it outside.
You're paying for these.
How was it?
Good as it gets.
You know, that coat was Gore-Tex. It's worth a hell of a lot more than that cheap Chardonnay. I'm freezing. I'm definitely freezing. Can't stop shaking. I'm cold too. But you better go. Let's get in the car. Oh my God, Saddam Hussein.
I wouldn't walk around without a coat in this weather. You'll catch your death of cold. So long.
Can I get you anything else?
Oh, no thanks.
How about a nice box of Scram?
Somebody double parked. We couldn't help it. It might have been Saddam Hussein. We're not really sure. He had a British accent. What happened to you?
Somebody put a cane on my foot. Just like the one I'm gonna put up.
Hey, what happened to your coat? What's that smell? What are you, drunk? I had to give it to the liquor store guy.
What for?
They spilled some Chardonnay. So, what did you get?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon. Why'd you get chocolate?
George?
Here, here's your cake. See ya.
See you. Weathermen say that 75% of your body heat is actually lost through the top of the head.
All right.
Sounds like you can watch game naked if you got a good hat. But there's no hat that makes a statement quite like the hat with the flaps. The hat with the flaps makes a statement that no other hat makes.
Hats with a flap do make a statement. All right. 90s sitcoms. I know they're pretty decent. Pretty funny. Alrighty, team. Thanks for everybody who watched this. Thanks for whoever's on here right now. I'm assuming it's Puerto Rico and somebody else. All right. Well, happy weekend. I'm gonna see y'all soon. I think I'm gonna go practice the guitar. So maybe I'll hop back on. Maybe I won't. But it's kind of late. It's It's 3 o'clock in the morning. So see y'all tomorrow. Peace.